My name is Jonathan Jardines, and this is the research presentation for my research paper for History 444, the topic of which is the role of rum in colonial slavery. Getting into the research of that, I focused primarily on the narratives surrounding it. A lot of the secondary sources I've read discussed how the relationship between rum and slavery has often been seen as symbiotic and really interdependent. However, what I was able to identify from my findings is that they function more so like two cogs in the same machine. That machine, of course, being the overall Atlantic economy. Now, to really get into that, I focused on the three main aspects of rum production, which is sugar extraction in Caribbean sugar plantations, refinement of the molasses produced from said plantations in distilleries, which is mostly going to occur in northern states, and the eventual exportation and bartering of the rum with many different audiences, but in the traditional narrative, of course, being African enslavers who are receiving rum in return for enslaved individuals. Those individuals, of course, being brought to the sugar plantations where the cycle can continue anew. Going more so into that, there is a certainly a link between the rum trade and slavery in this moment. The very inception of the sugar plantations in the Caribbean required a labor force to be constantly working, churning out sugar because of the very specific conditions surrounding the extraction of sugar from sugarcane. It is a very time sensitive process, which meant that you needed a staff that was there 24/7. That need incentivized European colonists and more so enslavers to use slave labor. That sugar being sent to those northern colonies like Rhode Island and Massachusetts are going to be distilled into rum, oftentimes by enslaved individuals who are living in those states or territories at the time, then being sailed out and repeating the process, as I said. However, upon further look into the role of rum, specifically the rum trade, the specifics of it are quite fascinating. 90% of the rum that's being produced in Rhode Island is actually staying domestic. This narrative of most of the rum is being sent to the Gold Coast and New Guinea to trade for enslaved individuals is a bit misleading. That is absolutely happening. Like I said, the two gears are in contact. They're pushing each other forward. The feedback loop that is pushing triangle trade throughout this colonial moment is in full swing for the majority of the 18th century. However, at that time, rum is still being used in myriad other ways. It's being used to trade with Native American populations for fur. It's going to fishermen in Newfoundland, of all places, and it's even being used to pay back colonial debts to England. Overall, some of the sources that have really helped me are travel narratives from these Rhode Island merchants who are going to Africa and are talking about their strategies in these African markets and navigating the demand for rum amongst these African enslavers, because that was an unsung part of the trade. Was there had to be a very high demand, and so there was a lot more power on the African side of things than originally thought. However, all in all, the discoveries I've made about rum being far more than just a part of Atlantic slave trade and the Atlantic slave economy in general were quite fascinating. The fact that rum as an industry goes above and beyond our expectations of it is amazing. And if you want to learn more, Read about it.